Olivia, you did a lovely job at acolyte, or liturgist today and acolyte. It's a long story. You did a lovely, wonderful job, so thank you. This story has lovers and haters in its ranks. People have say all kinds of things to me about this scripture anytime I preach from it, before and after the message. I think it's because everyone can place themselves in it somewhere, and it depends on what time of year, day of week, stage of life you're in, where you put yourself in the story. It might depend on how you're getting along with your family as to where you put yourself in the story. It's controversial for that reason, because it's about, really at its core, what we believe home to be. Home, as it turns out, and as you probably already know, is a touchy subject sometimes. People have all kinds of opinions about the prodigal son story, but one of the main reasons people give me for not liking it is because they think the oldest son got shafted. Maybe you think that too. They think his jealousy is warranted, that he is right to feel angry and upset when this wayward son comes home after a life spent wasting away the family inheritance. They think that the older son feels that he's been taken for granted and gone unnoticed, and that he just wants his fair share. The older son complains that his father has never even given him a party with a goat, and yet he's roasting this fatted calf for this son who came crawling back home. And I think that's a valid point, especially if he actually really does feel ignored and taken for granted by his father. But look closer at what the father tells him when he says, "Son, you are always with me, and everything I have is yours." But we had to celebrate and be glad, because this brother of yours was dead and is alive. He was lost and is found. The older son has always had all his father has. He's always been fully in his father's embrace, and the younger son too, until he left. And then, while he was gone, he didn't have an iPhone. No one knew if he was alive or dead after a while. They couldn't check on Facebook to see if he posted anything. They didn't know if they would ever have a welcome home moment with him again. They thought they had lost him forever. Welcome home, my wayward son. We are so happy to see you. You are always welcome here. We will always kill the fatted calf and bring out the finest roast for those that we love who come home. That is a great gospel message that Jesus is teaching in this story. In this passage, he's explaining the full and complete nature of God's inclusive love. This is an ancient story, this parable. And Jesus is saying to those that are gathered around him, this story is telling you that we are all family, no matter who we are, no matter what we've done, no matter how long we've been gone, no matter why we left. In God's embrace, we are always welcomed. Welcomed with the widest of embraces anytime we return. Jesus is trying to share with those that are gathered that God's love truly does have no limits. That the Father's embrace is for everyone, always, no matter what. And that's the beautiful part of the parable. But there's that other side too that people always complain to me about, the reaction of the brother. And through the reaction of the brother, I think Jesus is showing us how we tend to treat one another or feel about one another. Now God, the Father in this parable, might include all of us, but we sure have a hard time including one another, accepting one another, understanding one another. So we reject those who wander off an expected path. We get jealous, perhaps. We might compare what we have or what we don't have with others. We often turn our backs on one another. There's all kinds of complexities involved with the way we treat family, right? You could sit there in your seat and name off several. Attention Homes, which is an agency that works with homeless youth in Boulder, has this alarming statistic that says about 1 in 3 homeless youth in Boulder County are gay and lesbian youth who have been kicked out of their homes by their parents or made to feel like they don't belong there. 1 in 3 in a place like Boulder? I know it's a surprising statistic for me to hear in a place that seems to be as accepting and inclusive as Boulder. I wondered what the statistic might be in other places. Actually, it might be the same. I don't know, but that's high. I have to tell you, as a mother, or even just as a fellow human being, I cannot imagine anything that would ever make me turn my back on my own child. Certainly not something like him telling me his orientation. It's absolutely inconceivable to me that youth are left homeless on the streets because their parents have rejected who they are. They don't have a welcome home, do they? Not these kids. And my heart aches for them. If only they could feel the embrace of parental love that's in this parable. Home is a complicated theme, especially in this story and all of the themes related to it. Home to the prodigal son means he's going to try and hope he doesn't get rejected when he goes back to the home he left. He prays that he can return and just even have the scraps from his father's table when he gets there. That's his home. Home for the father is a place where his house is full, where all the kids are back where they belong, in the embrace of his love, no matter where they've been. Home for the older son is a place that seems fair, a place where he's noticed instead of taken for granted. I've been reading some short stories this week by Barbara Kingsolver in her book called Homeland. There's all kinds of wonderful stories in there with varied themes of what grounds people and what connects them to one another and what they think of as home. A story about a couple that had been together for a decade and almost allow a difficult move to a remote location to end this home that they created with one another. There's a story about a single mom who realizes the importance of living for every moment because you never know when things will turn on a dime. And finding out that her preschool-age daughter, who actually does, in fact, beg to stop for ice cream every single day on the way home from school, would in the end rather just go home and have pot pies with mom at the kitchen table than just about anything in the world. There's a story about a late 30-something couple trying to decide whether or not they should have children, weighing all kinds of pros and cons, liking the idea that they could somehow maybe make themselves immortal through the lineage of their children, but not quite sure. One day when the wife almost dies from a severe reaction to a hornet sting, she realizes immortality is an illusion. And she says, having a child wouldn't make you immortal. It would make you twice as immortal. It's just one more life you could possibly lose besides your home. That's where the father in this parable resides, I think. In that precarious position of feeling half dead because he has this son he thinks is lost. And half alive because he does have a son who's always with him. So when that prodigal son returns, he suddenly is able to feel whole again, and the life he thought he had lost is returned. And so, of course, he has a big celebration. So you are always with me. Everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad because this brother we thought was dead is now alive. He was lost and is now found. We are a global family connection, whether we want to be or not. Our families, our churches, our communities, all across the globe, we have this interconnectedness called the human family. So when one person is lost or rejected, it affects every single one of us. When one child is sleeping on the streets in Boulder because his parents don't accept him, We're all affected by that breach in relationship. When over and over again we fail to be the people God calls us to be, when we see unjust laws being passed all over the country and people who just want to feel a parent's love, a community's love, a world's love get turned away, we're not living into that love that the Father displays in this parable, that inclusive love that Jesus taught his disciples over 2,000 years ago. I mean, that's a long, long time for us to still not have a clue what we're doing. So perhaps, as I told the children, it's time on this day for us to figure out ways to embrace one another instead. It's a day that we often celebrate parenting. Maybe we celebrate action into being the human family, one and together, not apart. Perhaps on this day it's time to take on this father's role in this parable and say, let us celebrate and be glad, for we are all home together at last. What is mine is always yours. Oddly enough, the band Kansas, in their 1976 hit Carry On My Wayward Son, seems to say best what this parable is speaking to. And strangely enough, I think these lyrics speak for every single person in this prodigal son story, including us. Once I rose above the noise and confusion, just to get a glimpse beyond this illusion. I was soaring ever higher, but I flew too high. Though my eyes could see, I still was a blind man. Though my mind could think I still was a madman. I hear the voices when I'm dreaming, and I can hear them say, carry on, my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more. Amen.